All right. Good morning, good afternoon if you're on the East or West Coast. My name is Mark Hyatt, and I am the National SLED Account Manager here at August Schell, and I'm excited to welcome you to today's webinar. We're really excited to be able to partner up with Carahsoft and Google on this, and we welcome everyone to today's webinar, Use Cases and Threat Intelligence Turning Insights into Actions. Next slide. Uh, Just a real quick before we get started, I do want to go over with who our partner is. Carahsoft Technology Corp is a government-focused technology partner. We're very excited to have them on. They specialize in federal, state, and local and education customers and do a tremendous job of such. We're happy to have them on. Next slide. Before we get started here, just a few housekeeping items. The audio portions of this webinar can be heard through your microphones. So please mute yourself. Unmuting yourself just makes it difficult for everyone else to hear and participate. If you do need closed captioning, at the bottom right of the screen, you're able to click on that and you're able to take advantage of that. This is an opportunity for everyone here on the call to get a few CPE credits we're really excited about. The way that you're able to get those is to be an active participant. There'll be several times throughout the course of this webinar where we'll pause and ask questions. In order to qualify for those, we need for the credits, we need your participation on those questions. There'll also be a survey at the end, so please make sure that you fill that out, so that way you can take advantage of the credits. If you do participate, you will get your certificate within 2 weeks. And the last thing that I do want to mention is today's webinar will be recorded. Next slide. Awesome. We're really excited to have Jose Valerio, Tim Judy, and Mike Baca on the call today. I'll let them introduce themselves, but they have tremendous experience with Google as well as real-world customer experience. We're happy to have them on. Jose, I'll let you go ahead and kick it off.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Good morning, afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Just echoing a little bit of what Mark said. Thank you first and foremost for taking the time of your day and joining us. Before we get into it, I'll just briefly introduce myself. I'm Jose Valerio, and I serve as the lead threat intelligence advisor for U.S. public sector from the Google Threat Intelligence Group, or GTIC for short. Essentially, my role is to help advise customers with how to enhance their cyber threat intelligence program and ensure they are effectively using intelligence to inform decisions, drive actions, and achieve desired outcomes. I've been with Google for a year now. Prior to joining Google, I spent about 14 years in the U.S. intelligence community side. I'm also an Army reservist, and I serve as a cyber operations officer leading defensive cyber operations. So fully understand not only just the cyber threat intel side of things, but also operationally from a defensive cyber perspective. Next slide, please. Now for my portion of the webinar, I'm going to start with a very quick threat highlight just to spotlight some of the types of threat intelligence we produce at GTIG, and then I'll provide a brief overview of the Google Threat Intelligence Platform, or GTI for short. Now for this particular threat highlight, while there are numerous types of malicious cyber activities that certainly pose a threat to SLED, the one that I hear the most from SLED customers that is the most concerning is ransomware. Ransomware, whether in the SLED space or other sectors, remains a significant threat. In SLED, ransomware can put at risk sensitive data from the local communities, state or local governments from being able to manage critical infrastructure and provide essential public services, which makes them attractive targets for cyber criminals and nation state actors alike. Ransomware attacks can cripple essential services, disrupt operations, and lead to significant financial losses through ransom payments, data recovery costs, and legal liabilities. Impacts from disrupting essential services can, of course, include critical public services, such as emergency response, healthcare, and transportation, impacting, of course, public safety and well-being. So there's many types of ransomware families, but I'm highlighting Ransom Hub due to how prominent it was in 2024, last year. It was first advertised in February 2024. Ransom Hub follows a ransomware as a service model, which is a business model where cyber criminals provide ransomware tools and infrastructure to other individuals or groups that are known as affiliates, who can then launch ransomware attacks without needing advanced technical skills, essentially renting the ransomware capabilities to carry out attacks for profit. There were over 450 victims alone, spanning nearly every industry sector globally, and US-based victims accounted for more than half last year, which is likely due to US victims just being more susceptible to making the ransomware payment as opposed to other countries with weaker economies. Now, we did see, other prominent ransomware families. Some of you might have been familiar or heard of Lockbit, which was really prominent in the early part of 2024. But due to law enforcement actions, which is a good thing, right? Taking down these, ransomware as a service model and ecosystems that the affiliates were using, certainly paved the way for Ransom Hub for the rest of the year to become that prominent ransomware as a service, as I mentioned. And we're likely to continue to see this not only in 2025, but beyond, where essentially cyber criminals are going to be shifting to newer ecosystems, just a part of the law enforcement activities. But that certainly underscores the importance, right, of having the best threat intelligence picture that you can in order to, have the right defensive posture, alerts, detections, and good cybersecurity hygiene that you want to have in your organization. And then for the last bullet there, while we don't want to just produce intelligence for just intelligence if it can't be actionable. So not just talking about the threat without knowing what to do about the threat, essentially. Where GTI as a platform offers a hunting guidance and mitigation recommendations, which later in the webinar, my teammates on the August Schell side, Tim and Mike, will actually show you how you can make this intelligence actionable and take the necessary actions to hunt, defend, and mitigate against. So that concludes this brief threat highlight. But if you're ever interested in learning more about other types of threats or more of a deep dive, or would like to just have some further discussions, don't hesitate to reach out. But before we get into an overview of the GTI platform, I think it's time for our first polling question. So we'll pause for that here for a moment. And as you can, I'm sure, all see on your screen, the first one, which types of cyber threats pose the biggest challenge for your organization? So while we talked about ransomware, there certainly are other malicious cyber activities. So curious to hear from you all. We'll just give it a moment for folks to respond to the polling question. Thank you. All right. I think folks are responding to the polling question. I can't, for whatever reason, see the results, which is fine, but we'll certainly take a look at the results here at the end. So I'll just go ahead and while folks continue to respond to the polling question, just jump right into the GTI platform overview, which Mike is going to do a phenomenal job later in the webinar to kind of show you, right, how this actually looks and feels. The magic you can certainly do to, again, take the necessary actions you need based on the intelligence. Next slide, please. So just a few slides to go through. First and foremost, of course, standard NDA, right? Since we're going to be talking about the platform, the product, which information contains confidential and proprietary. So again, just look for pre-approval prior to discussing outside of the webinar. Next slide. All right, so what is GTI? So GTI is our new product. It was announced May of last year at RSA. And essentially, there is a misconception when I've talked to several customers about what GTI is, and a lot of times it's like, oh well, it's essentially taking GTI or it's actually taking Mandiant and VirusTotal, therefore you get GTI, but it's a lot more than just that, right? So while it's taking Mandiant and years and years of expertise and experience doing incident responses, over 1,000 on average a year. With our threat researches, it's also taking VirusTotal, that the world's largest malware database going back to 2004, so over 20 years of a repository there from the crowdsourced threat intelligence community. But it's force multiplied, and that's the key differentiator. It's force multiplied by Google and Google's infrastructure and capabilities such as AI and machine learning to help just enhance this threat intelligence and bring it to the next level, which I'll talk about here in the next couple slides. But next slide, please. So Again, combining that expertise from the Mandiant side, that frontline intelligence, as we're actively supporting various victims through incident response and breaches that are occurring on what seems like a day-to-day basis. So combining that frontline intelligence, that curated intelligence from our expertise on the Mandiant side, combined with the open source side with the crowdsourced intelligence that VirusTotal certainly brings to the game, industry knowledge through the security vendors that participate and provide that scoring and insights on various malwares that get uploaded or submitted into VirusTotal. And then, of course, the threat insights that I was mentioning on the previous slide. So while that's bringing threat intelligence to the next level with AI infused threat intelligence to help cyber threat intel analysts or SOC analysts to get a quicker time to value, right? Increasing productivity, increasing that speed and scale that Google certainly offers through AI and machine learning capabilities, and also those insights from a global scale, right? Where through safe browsing, such as users using Chrome as a browser, right? That telemetry, those insights, and even protecting Android devices as an example. So those billions of users, billions of devices, that telemetry and threat insights that provides certainly provides a force multiplier from the Google side. Next slide, please. All right, so it goes without saying, threat intelligence is certainly a prerequisite for every security program in order for it to be proactive, right? We want to be as proactive as much as possible and not as reactive, more left of bang, so to speak. And really, if you have a threat intelligence program that's front and center, that it has buy-in and leadership, not just from the strategic level, from the C-suite or senior leaders, but also at the operational and tactical levels, like SOC leaders and SOC teams and whatnot, just helping feed the loop, so to speak, to ensure that the security program is robust and being driven and led by threat intelligence. And that certainly, having threat intelligence certainly helps inform various work streams, as you can see on the slide, whether it's at the tactical level, at the SOC level, as I previously mentioned, or at the CISO, C-suite level, helping inform strategic direction for organizations and better decision making, more informed, better decision makings, as well as threat hunting, red team activity from a vulnerability management side, right? Those CVEs, which I'll talk about at a later slide, certainly help prioritize which type of vulnerabilities perhaps require the most immediate attention from remediation, and to just ensure that an organization has the best cyber defense posture as much as possible. Next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to cover three quick product functionalities. The first one's around expansive threat visibility. So again, being in the front lines and persistently engaged with adversaries on a day-to-day basis helps us not only inform the intelligence we produce, but more importantly, the customers we want to support. We want to help customers understand, new and novel and relevant threats that are relevant to their organization, and we're able to do that through the frontline intelligence. So when there's an active breach, we're immediately providing first looks or initial reports on what our initial understanding is of the situation, and then providing those IOCs and mitigation techniques in order for your organization to make the quickest response you possibly can. By having an informed threat landscape, you're able to, of course, again, prioritize against the adversaries or malicious activities that perhaps your organization is facing within your threat landscape. Threat profiles, which I know Mike will get into at his portion, a very quick and simple step within the platform. Within a couple of clicks, you're able to have a cyber threat profile and be able to have a initial look of the top threats that you may want to be concerned about and look into right away. There's a lot of data within this threat intelligence corpus. So being able to quickly be able to see, hey, which adversaries, which campaigns should I look at right away, certainly helps as a starting point for any CTI or SOC team. And then, of course, the reporting and detection rules. Again, having that expansive threat visibility in order for you to be able to take the necessary actions. I think that's good here. Next slide, please. Next, tools for analysis and research. So really, and you really got to use it to kind of see it for yourself, but a very powerful CTI workbench for every security team or threat intelligence analyst that's out there, right? Whether it's private scanning, so being able to simply, you come across a file that you suspect to be malicious, being able to upload that and receive a response or output on a quick analysis, synopsis essentially on, hey, this is our assessment on the file, and really that's powered by Gemini AI via our code insights, where a lot of times nowadays it's hard to find like somebody who's skilled and certified to conduct reverse malware engineering, right? Well, Gemini AI can help via code insights to analyze the file and then produce those unique insights and YAR rules that you'll need to set up the proper detections and alerts. Being able to conduct live hunt, both currently and also retroactively within the threat intelligence corpus, using the graph to have that visualization to connect the dots and conduct unique analysis, and then customizing those IOC or indicator of compromised streams, whether it's from a host or network base. Again, being able to make this customizable and unique to your security program and your organization based on the mission and your priorities. Next slide. And then again, proactive, you'll hear this again, right? But wanting to have a proactive stance, especially in the cyber domain, where it's a domain that's constantly changing and evolving. So being aware and with various emerging threats, so that way you're never missing the threat, even in the hardest to reach places. And in this instance, this is just highlighting our dark web capability and attack surface management, which is combined under what we call cyber threat exposure management. So being aware of a credential leak or data that might be in an underground form that's being sold across cyber criminals, having those alerts, again, having that situational awareness will certainly help, so you can take the necessary actions. And then from an attack service management perspective, a lot of times, we're not necessarily aware of any assets that might be public facing. So ASM being able to not only identify those, but then also look at ways on how you can take the appropriate actions to have the best cyber defense posture as much as possible to limit and decrease that attack surface that adversaries are looking to expose. Next slide, please. All right, so just to quantify things just a little bit, I won't read each of the numbers, but in the top row, those are the numbers from the VirusTotal malware database side, as I mentioned, over 20 years and going strong in terms of community and crowdsourced intelligence, uploads, submissions, lookups, that sort of thing. And on the bottom left, some of the numbers from the Mandiant side, and as I mentioned previously, on average, over 1,000 IR incident response engagements per year. We're certainly on speed dial with a lot of organizations in the event they suspect or have a cyber incident that's active. And on the bottom right, those billions of users and devices and Gmail users, as an example, that Google protects on a day-to-day basis. So that telemetry, I'm providing that unrivaled global threat visibility. Next slide. All right, so our intel sources are certainly diverse, which provides our unmatched breadth and depth. So our breadth from open source intelligence from the crowdsourced sites, like I mentioned, those unique insights that we obtain from frontline intelligence from the Mandiant side as we support active incident response engagements throughout the year. And those threat insights, like I mentioned previously, from the Google telemetry side, those billions of devices and users. So that way we're able to combine these various and diverse intel sources to provide a very meaningful and proactive threat intelligence in order to help beef up your security operations or threat intelligence program. And the human created intelligence side from the Mandiant side, many experts, many of our analysts coming from the SLED community side. So certainly bringing in some very relevant experiences there to from a global scale, where we have analysts throughout the world, various languages and various sectors coming from various sectors. Next slide, please. All right, and if Mim, if you don't mind just clicking through up to the green, thank you. So just bringing this full circle, core competencies across from the red, the Mandiant side, the blue, the virus total side, and the green in the middle from the Google side. So again, from the Mandiant side, that finished intelligence, curated intelligence, human expertise and analysis, that end-to-end kill chain based on the IRs that we've supported, and then from the virus total side, more of that tactical intelligence, those IOCs, that crowdsourced intelligence, that automated malware analysis from the private scanning that I previously mentioned. And then in the green in the middle, powered by the infrastructure from Google. So machine learning and AI, the speed and scale, global scale, as I mentioned. Google being a search and info organization, certainly, as you'll see within the platform, making it hopefully quite simple where you can make a quick natural language question or a quick search and receive a very meaningful first step in terms of a Gemini AI produced summary and then some results there for you and your team to dig into some of the reporting. Next slide, please. All right, and so my last slide before I turn it over to Tim, the big question, right? What is the media value today? So with Mandiant Advantage and Virus Total no longer being available as a standalone product or offering today, GTI being the way moving forward, what's the media value today? So having that single surface, unified Google score, if you would. So previously, where Mandiant would give a score on a vulnerability, now with everything being combined, you get a unified view in terms of the threat, right? So you're not having to log into the Virus Total community database or Mandiant Advantage. You're now able within GTI just do a quick search and have that output or result that has that unified verdict and provide that unified experience for the user. Those Google Insights that I mentioned, safe browsing signals from users using Chrome browser on a day-to-day basis, and SecOps being formerly known as Chronicle being that same the logs and data that's being aggregated there, and essentially that signal being input into the platform, so that way you have that again unified experience. The unified data unlocks more insight, so having that very detailed indicator context, threat landscape, expanded threat intelligence pipelines just helps again inform your organization based on all the associations within the Google Threat Intelligence corpus. That expanded core functionalities that I mentioned previously, so threat profiles, which I already hit on, having a better view of your threat landscape. Again, we map everything to even the MITRE ATT&CK framework, just as an example, to make it, again, for that quicker time to value where you're not having to map the T codes based on an adversary TTPs. We provide that up front, where again, you search, go through the results, and then you're able to take the necessary actions that you need. And then lastly, the ASM, attack surface management piece, bringing everything together under continuous threat exposure management. So I think that's a good place to stop. I will turn it over to Tim, who's next. Next slide, please. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, or morning if you happen to be on the West Coast. It's good to see so many folks on, and gonna do a quick intro of myself, and then Mike Baca, who's been my teammate for a very long time, and then we'll dive right into it. So, my name is Tim Judy. I'm a solutions engineer with August Schell. I've been with the company about 3 years. Prior to that, I did 22 years in the Marine Corps. Retired in 3 years ago, and for the majority of that time, I was doing counterintelligence work, and for most of that, I was actually doing that in the technical space. So since being at August Schell, as a solutions engineer, helping people find solutions to their problems, and just because of my background, I gravitated towards the threat intel space and helping people actually get things done there. So looking forward to talking through this and showing off GTI. Mike.
Hello, everybody. Mike Baca, as Tim kind of alluded to, I've worked with him for probably about 10 years, going on 11 now. I came out of the Marine Corps. I spent most of my time doing threat hunting, specifically for close access attacks. I spent the last 5 years of my tour in the Marine Corps at NSA, teaching how to threat hunt for those close access attacks, which is a heavily threat intel driven process. And thanks for joining.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. And we'll try to keep the inside jokes to a minimum. And before I get to the really bad AI art on the screen, I'll just tell you a little bit about August Schell, just in depth. We're a value-added reseller. Just full disclosure, I did not know what that was while I was in active duty, but our organization's about 150 so folks. 90% of us are engineers, and we are not just partnered with Google. We have many different partners that we can use to help you with your problems. So, as we go through this, GTI is awesome. I would stake my reputation on its value, going and 100% believe in it. And what I need you to do at the end of this is reach out to Mark if you would like Mike and myself to have a deeper discussion with you on how we can help. So with that, I'll tell a personal story just because, again, I spent a long time in the military. And one of the first conversations when I joined on with August Schell was with a SLED customer, and they came to me and said, somebody told me that you were the person to talk to for threat intel. And my first reaction was, well, it's not something you just hand off a shelf. Like, what exactly do you mean? And come to find out that it's a big challenge for people, and words like operationalize and utilize get thrown out a lot. I think we stayed away from saying that, through the most part of this, because in reality, it means a lot of different things for different people. Depends on your role, whether you're C-suite or you're the analyst down on the keyboard actually trying to threat hunt and get things done. You need different things to do your job. So how do we do that? And using the scenario, the ransom hub brief that Jose gave us earlier, we're going to walk through how you could potentially do that in GTI and make some of those things easier. But we need a framework to kind of guide that discussion. So next slide. And for us, when Mike and I have these discussions with our customers and our partners, we use the well-established intel cycle that's used throughout the DoD. You see the phases there. We start with planning and direction. We end with dissemination and feedback, and it goes round and round. So this is not going to be an intel cycle class. We want to get to the actual platform, but just to kind of highlight, I want you to keep this slide in mind as Mike's going through and providing a demonstration, because right off the bat, we're going to go into planning and direction. And one of the challenges there is like, what do I actually need to know? And what you need to know is going to depend on your role. GTI has a really great process for that. Just a couple clicks to kind of focus your efforts there. It's at least a good starting point that's backed by the information that's in GTI. Collection. If you go back and rewatch this recording or this recording of this webinar, I would pay attention to a lot of the comments that Jose mentioned, as far as, even though it wasn't explicitly stated, like, pay attention to where GTI is getting its data from. I'm not sure if the level of the background of the folks attending the call, but where the differentiator for GTI, and the reason I personally like it, is very transparent where that information is coming from. Run into a lot of saying, well, we have all this data, and say, okay, well, where did you get it? That's very important, because depending on what solution you have, if they just bought that data from somewhere else and put it in their platform, it's not the same as what you can get with GTI, because combining the power of Google, Mandiant, and VirusTotal, it's direct information coming from sources that you can trust. Analysis, that'll depend on the organization. We have a lot of conversation with customers there on how to actually use it. We're going to show you the GUI of GTI, where there's a lot can be done there from an analyst perspective, but maybe you have other tools, tie it in. I mean, there's a lot of use cases where you're using the API to pull the information that's in GTI and just use it somewhere else. So how you do that, otherwise we have conversation around that. And then production is also just that's where you really get the operationalized. Like, what are you actually going to do with it? For GTI, it can be pulling out a report. The brief that Jose gave was an example of that, like finished actual intelligence reporting coming from an analyst that is well experienced and paid to produce that. So really finished reporting you can use for C-suite. Say, hey, I need resources. This is why. All the way down to automating your workflows as far as like detections or blocking, that type of thing. So really good tools related to that part of the cycle. And then dissemination of feedback. It's not everybody's favorite, but we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, did it work? What do we need to change? And then go through it again. And the last thing I'll say with this is, because of our background and experience, we realize this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's not just, you're not going to be able to just do this, set one workflow procedure and be effective. We can help have a conversation specifically about how your organization operates and tailor it across, so you actually have multiple iterations of this cycle happening simultaneously, but also, happening in a way where it's in parallel and also effective. So with that, I think the last thing I'm going to throw out, just to keep in mind as we're coming through the results of the poll there, it was overwhelmingly, most of us on this call are very concerned with phishing and social engineering and the ransomware, which takes over 2/3 of responses. So I think based on what we're going to show here, I think you'll find a lot of ways to address those concerns and maybe get ahead of those problems going forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, looks like we have polling question 2 popped up. So if you go ahead and answer that, question is, does your organization's cyber threat intelligence function employ a lifecycle process that defines intelligence needs, identification, collection, processing, analysis, and dissemination requirements? This is kind of what Tim covered. Give you a couple more seconds to answer that. Kind of a wordy question. Tim's a wordy guy.
I was waiting for it.
So this is GTI. This is what you log into. Those that are familiar with VirusTotal, it's very familiar, right? Except they've added Google Threat Intelligence to it. You could still do the same searches and lookups through the GUI the way you used to do it. But here's where the power comes in, right? Jose gave a very good brief on Ransom Hub, but the reality is there is so much information available right now to a threat team, through a threat hunting team, to a CTI analyst, maybe you're a small security operations center. There is a lot of information, and we understand that you get to a point where there's a saturation of information, and I don't know what's relevant to my organization or not. And so here's where also I have it popped up just in case. Okay, so it's going to ask me. Of course, it does this. That's what I get for making fun of Tim. Okay. It's like I'm having an issue right now. Give me just a second. Looks like Mim is sharing still. Okay. All right, there we go. So what I was talking about was here in threat profiles, Okay, there we go. So how do I know what information is relevant to my organization, right? And this is where we can do that. Tim talked about collection, intel requirements and collection. And so we know that, we're a SLED organization. For this example, we're going to use a healthcare SLED org that does finance, right? It's probably going to be a target for the type of threat actors that are going to use something like Ransom Hub, but let's build it out. So I'm going to create my threat profile. And this is, again, where I tailor my collection requirements and scope down that collection and that data. So let's do healthcare, finance. And the industries we're going to select we'll go with financial services, governments, and healthcare. And then let's select our target region. Let's go with the Americas, North America, and United States of America. So again, target a region because we're a SLED org that does this. We really don't care if someone's targeting, another country. That's not really where our collection requirements lie. So I'm going to create a new one, save my threat profile. It's going to take a second. And essentially what's happening right now is Google's going through and looking for things that are relevant to your organization. And so you get this nice threat map. And down in the bottom left, you have threat actors that are less relevant and less recent. And as we go further high into the right, you see more recent and more relevant. So I think we're going to go with threat actor 4696, UNC 4696, which is uncategorized threat actor. And we see that they are targeting financial services, governments, and healthcare. So let's go into them a little further. Again, this is how you get to scope down the information to what's relevant to my org. And this is where it's important that you can have this ability. Otherwise, you're looking through all of this data that's strewn out across the web. So let's go into the threat actor. And we can see that they're essentially they have a new associated campaign with them. Financially motivated threat cluster leverages malicious advertisements to gain access, likely in support of ransomware operations. Here we can see a little bit about the group, that they're deploying some types of ransomware. It's a nice overview, provides you some information about them. We can see that they're reported as a Black Cat. So maybe you see something in the news about a threat actor group named Black Cat. This is also could be associated with them. So I can scroll down, I can see the associations, but I want to get down to malware families. So I can see all these different malware families associated with this threat group. And these are the IOCs that are going to allow you to kind of identify if this group might be targeting you or might be in your organization. So I'm going to go into Ransom Hub and just check it out. Let's see what GTI provides me. And so here it's going to give us a description. This is a very succinct, quick description. Not to knock Jose and his great explanation, but depending on how fast you read, you could read this and get a quick synopsis of the threat group. You can also see what actors are associated with this malware, also associated malwares as well. So scroll down a little more, and the capabilities, right? What's it doing? Kind of gives you just a brief overview, but really this is just information. And how do I go from analysis to production, right? How do I use this information to respond in my environment, or how do I use it to protect my environment? Because again, we've gone from identifying our requirements, we've scoped down our collection, and now we've identified a piece of malware that is explicitly relevant to your organization, right? We can see it targets Linux and Windows systems, probably covers everything except for maybe the shout out to the OS X users. But we can start to get into to details that can help us leverage this information. So one of the things I like to do is like the graph it's a pretty cool display that allows you to quickly hop into different aspects associated with the malware. But really, let's get into indicators, right? This is where we can start to detect it within our organization. Traditionally, back when I first started using something like VirusTotal, we would use hashes. And the problem with a hash is when I'm trying to do a detection based off of a hash, if there's any change in the binary of that file, then that hash is going to dramatically change. And so detection won't occur if the hash doesn't match. And so instead, or in lieu, also leveraging YARA rules. And so what YARA rules allow us to do is we can use hashes. We can use multiple different hashes, as you can kind of see laid out here. But these rules allow us to take the rules associated with this piece of malware that's relevant to my organization, and then I can use it in my SIM. And I'm actually going to show you in SecOps here, after I'm done with this, where how you would do that, and then also show you a little bit more information of how GTI is being used in SecOps to enrich that data to help you take those insights and respond in real time. But so the great thing about Mandiant is GTI is the reporting that the analysts do. They link it to that specific item. So whether it's a threat actor group or it's a piece of malware like this, everything from news articles that are posted to dark web forum posts, it's going to add that to the sources or relevant reporting for that specific item. So I'm actually going to go back real quick, and I want to show you the threat actor group that's actually using this, because maybe they're not just using Ransom Hub. Maybe that threat actor group, because really we identify that Ransom Hub is a tool that's used by that threat group. But let's look at the threat group themselves and see what details we can find out about them as well. See if there's other tool sets that they're using. So we do see that they use multiple other malware families, and they use multiple tools. Cobalt Strike, one relatively easy to deploy. FileZilla probably for exfil. So it also has the CVEs associated with them. But how do I take all of this information and make it relevant? How do I take all of these insights and create action? So now I can go to my indicators, and I can actually download a list of all the indicators, and I get all of these indicators associated with this threat group. I get IP addresses, I get URLs associated with them, and now my SIM can alert me that possibly this threat actor group has entered my environment. So now I'm going to kind of show you a little deeper into how you take those YARA rules and how do you respond. So here's Google SecOps. And I know this is a GTI brief, but something about SecOps is Google enriches the SIM itself with GTI's cyber threat intel. And it's done in real time. It's done, it requires limited to no interaction. But say you decided to build out your own YARA rule. And so I can go to my rules and detections, and it does have included rules, but I can go into my rules editor and I can actually create a new YARA rule. Say there's something that I get alerted by CISA, I get alerted by somebody, hey, here's a YARA rule associated with this threat group or with this piece of malware. We recommend you search your environment. And as soon as you create that rule and you have it running, it will alert you if there's an IOC associated with it. And so one of the things, though, that I really, really, really like, I'm going to discard my edits on this. What I really, really like about SecOps is this part, IOC matches. And so it's cool that I can go into the dashboard and I can see, all this information about these threat groups that are relevant to my organization. and I can pull that out. But do I have the analyst? Do I have the time to do that, to input it into to action on those insights? You can use an API to integrate them directly into your SIM that you're using, and it'll work the same way as this. But with SecOps, it goes a little deeper. And so specifically, this one, which based off of our demo data that we have, we can see that there was an IOC match associated with UNC 897, and Mandiant Active Breach Intelligence actually has an active IR engagement associated with this IOC, with this alert. So with a high degree of confidence, I can say that I'm actually getting ahead of this threat actor group because I've identified them in my environment, and in real time, Google is sharing that intel. It's allowing it to enrich my SIM and alert me to that threat actor group. So, and then again, that's when we get into the response and we start to get into SOAR playbooks. But like I said, I'm going to hop back into GTI. This is a GTI brief, but that's what you're getting with GTI. You're getting all this information, and Google's made it in a way that you can ingest it into your SIM of choice, or if you decide to go with SecOps, that works as well. But it allows you to take these insights. You go from having a saturation of information to now actions are occurring to protect your organization from those accidental phishing clicks or from those ransomware attacks. With that, I'm going to
Mike, if you can, just leave it up for just 1 second.
Yep.
Sorry, just had to jump in. Real quick on the, just wanted to point out, this was before we kind of wrap things up. This is what we showed in GTI was just kind of the tip of the iceberg, as it were. On the left, you can see we're not going to go down into all of them, but we briefly took a deep dive on the threat landscape, IOC investigation. We talked about that's essentially virus total, but on the left is all the modules that are part of GTI that we can have a conversation around and how it would be a fit in the organization. So for example, if you don't have a attack surface management capability, you do have that ability within GTI as far as putting in your endpoints, your public facing resources, and do vulnerability management, do attack surface management on those, as well as digital threat monitoring. So think credential leaks, that kind of thing there. So if that's also on your problems list, we can talk to those at another date. So before we kind of wrap it up, I think we have one more poll question to do there. Is your organization's CTI functioning properly funded, properly staffed, and all of the things? Just to talk through that, we do appreciate the answer there, because it does help us kind of scope and tailor conversations if we do have there in the future. Just in the past, it's kind of a mix. It depends on the range and all that. So obviously there is no wrong answer there, but it does help us when we go into some of these conversations to have an idea there. So and while the slide's up, because we're getting close on time, I want to leave some for questions. As you saw, we went through the entire cycle there. We're using one example. And as I mentioned before we kicked into the demo, it's constantly going around. We're not doing it in a vacuum. And at this point, we would take the information that we had as far as what we got out of GTI, and you saw a brief glimpse of SecOps, and adjust this. So constantly moving to stay ahead of it. And just that is how August Schell and Google, well, specifically August Schell, has these conversations with customers and to make sure we're actually doing the air quotes operationalizing what we have at our disposal. So I think that is it.
I do want to add something.
Sure.
Again, so maybe one of the great things about GTI is as I'm a small organization, I'm a small SLED team. I have, 2 or 3 people, or say it's a collateral duty. How does GTI, right? Why would I want GTI in my environment? Why would I need it? Well, the reality is that you really don't have the time to go through and generate these YAR rules yourself. You really don't have the time to ingest these indicators yourself. And so leveraging the data and the information that GTI is bringing into your SIM, and then configuring your SOAR to respond for you is really the way that you get that, that holistic life cycle of going from I've identified the information that's relevant to me, and now I'm making that information, function for me. I'm turning those insights into an action that is preventing me from having to go walk down and unplug something, walk down and block off a port or disable a system on my network. But
All right. Thanks, Mike.